Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, or welcome if you're new. I'm Alice and I do a mix of singing and signing videos, and then some random other things, and most of the time they're musical theatre themed. So let's get into it. So I've just changed up my background a bit, right? And I've just turned the fairy lights on that are behind me, but I don't know how I feel about it. So today I'm doing a third Simeon story, and I will link the playlist up. Is it that side or that side? I think it's that side. Up there, but it could be there. I will link the playlist of them up there, and I would recommend going and watching the other ones because I'm doing them in chronological order of the show. So some of the stories are from rehearsal and some of them from the show. So I'm doing them in order of how they happened chronologically through the show, because the show is a sung through musical, so there's only songs, there's no dialogue. So I'm doing all of the stories for the first song and then the second song and so on. So if you go back and watch the previous two, then you'll have seen all of the stories for Joseph's Coat, Jacob and Sons and Prologue, and Any Dream Will Do, although there weren't very many. Most of them were from Joseph's Coat. But if you have seen those two, you'll be very glad to hear that we have completed all of the ones from Joseph's Coat and are moving on to Joseph's Dreams. I believe there are two from Octave Jump Song. Oh, that one! Just read one of my things, I'm like, what's going on there? I think yeah, right. Let's just get into it because I don't know what I'm trying to say anymore. So my first story for today is, so the next song is Joseph's Dreams, which is the song where it's saying, the brothers don't like Joseph, we already know the brothers don't like Joseph because they're jealous of him because he's got the coat. But this is saying we don't like him because he's telling us that he's better than us because of these dreams that he's had, because he can interpret the dreams. So in our version, there wasn't a dance break. In some versions of the song, there's a dance break before the bit where it goes, I can't remember. There's a dance break in one version. We didn't have that dance break, but where it was the last bit that the brothers are singing, where it's like, the very last bit, no, the Joseph's got to go, that's the end of that bit. The very end of the song, we had a dance to. And it's quite a simple dance because we're not a dance school. You don't have to audition to get in, so you don't have to be good at everything. It's a case of you come because you enjoy it, or you want to build your confidence, or like you want to make friends or something. So you don't have to be good at everything. You might want to improve, but it's not a case of if you can't dance you can't join. If you can't sing you can't join. You can just come just for the fun of it, effectively. So it's not a case of we're gonna have a dance that would go on and win a competition. I mean, it could potentially if everybody learnt flipping dances, but that isn't our aim. Our aim is just to have fun with it and to put on a show that we're proud of at the end of the term. So the dance wasn't difficult for me because I learn choreo quite easily, I pick up choreo quite easily, and I'm quite a strong dancer, and I think the position that I got given in these dances shows that as well. And I think from my perspective and from what everybody else says, I was the most well-rounded last term, and out of everybody I didn't have necessarily a strength or a weakness. I had what I enjoyed doing the most and the least, and I mean I do have my strengths and weaknesses, but where everybody else was like, yeah, I prefer doing this to this because I'm better at this, I'm kind of like, yeah, I prefer doing this to this because I enjoy it more, but I do both of them just as well. You can push me, and it was a case of like there were times last year where we had people come in and teach us stuff, and they realised they could push me and they could tell me that I was going up on a plie, not a plie, that's not what I meant, going up on a releve and preparing to do something on the wrong beat, and so they were giving me notes, but I wasn't in the best mental space, and the person wasn't saying this to anybody else, so it just kind of made me feel a bit defeated and a bit blocked down. And I knew I could do the choreo because it was the choreo we'd learned, that was the first choreo we'd learned, and I knew I could do it, but I couldn't do it because, I don't know, it just really like set me back. But it was only when somebody said she's only doing it because she knows you can push, that she can push you because you're that good, and yes, you could go on to be a professional dancer. that I kind of stepped back and thought, yeah, I just need to stop taking everything so personally. So yeah, I am probably the most well-rounded last term. So I am just saying that the dances that we had, for me, I generally found easy. But remembering them was difficult because of the amount that I had. But then not everybody found it as easy, or they weren't as coordinated, or just forgot them all. But this dance had like 2 parts to it. So we had the beginning bit where everybody did, and then effectively they repeated the dance, and they did a dance their own, like they did a second part of the dance. But then when they were doing that, there were 2 of us, so me and one of the Saturdays, doing a completely different dance at the front, which complemented really nicely. So I was chosen to do that, and I was the only one from my group chosen to do it, which kind of screwed timing because I hadn't rehearsed with the other person. And I think the other person who was doing it did something completely different to me at one point. I was like, oh, is that because I'm doing it wrong, or is that because I've learnt it differently, or just because, I don't know. But I was given this different dance, and I was in front of everybody, so it was kind of a case of there was me and this other person doing the dance, and then there was everybody else. But because I was in front of everybody, I had to be careful that I didn't run into them, because there was one bit where everybody ran this way and I ran that way, so I had to be careful not to run into them and slide into them and kick them. That was a big one. But because I'd learnt my dance, because I was the only one doing that, I'd learnt the dance and I was confident in the dance, and I knew that I needed to be, because there's only one choreographer who's there every week, who's going to be if she needs to dance with us, she'll dance with the others, because there were 6 of them, but there was 1 of me. So there wasn't much point in her dancing with me when she should have been dancing with everybody else, because there were more of them. And yeah, but with a lot of the dances, and I know I said in my last one, people copied me and they relied on me for the choreo. And this dance, it stood out in the most because I was doing something completely different to everybody else, and you could just see everybody copying me. So that was interesting. But yeah, I was effectively featured dancer, and that's the second time that's happened, and I'm not complaining. But yeah, I was effectively featured dancer out of my group. But I mean, I wasn't. I was just given more to do because I could. And then this is more singing, and I'm pretty sure this is in Joseph's Dreams, but I could be wrong. So in our last one, I said that the person who was playing Jacob in our show left, kind of, but he was given extra lines at the beginning of Joseph's Dreams. There's a line where they say, Joseph annoyed his brothers, Joseph's coat annoyed his brothers, and then the brothers say, but what makes us mad? But the narrator says Joseph's coat annoyed his brothers. But I think that line had been given to our Jacob, which meant that none of us hadn't learnt it, because it was quite an easy line, but none of us knew to sing it effectively. So it got to a week before the show, and either we were all told just sing that line because it makes sense, or the person who sang it for the Saturdays was on stage and we were all mic'd, so she was told to sing it. But we got to the show and nobody sang it, and their singing teacher was in stage left wing. She was kind of singing the whole score, but only really like properly singing it if nobody else was singing. And I kind of caught on to the fact that nobody else was singing. I was a bit like, am I meant to sing? Do I sing? And I thought, well, nobody knows if I'm meant to be singing or not. It's not a case of it's definitely this person singing. So I just kind of sung it because nobody else was singing it, and I didn't want just to have Ellie, our singing teacher, in stage left wing singing it because it looked really weird. So I just joined in and sang it all, and nobody else sung it, but that was good. So yes, and right, I can't think of any stories for Poor Joseph. There probably are. There are definitely some. So Poor Joseph has it's basically when the brothers try to kill Joseph, and they're like, what are we going to do with him? He's really driving us up the U-bend. So in the end they sell him to the Ishmaelites. And we had the dance, not the dance, it doesn't have dance in it. We had the way it was sung, and it was, I've written stuff in my script because that was what we were told to do, but with our director you always have to write in pencil, and I think that will be something that I will take with me, is for notes or anything, just write in pencil until you know that's right, because there's no point writing in pen if it's then going to get crossed out. So I always write in pencil for for stage directions. So I had written what I was doing in pencil, and then when we did it the next time, which was a couple of weeks later, he was like, why are you doing that? Stay where you are. And then he kept changing what he wanted us to do. So there were times where we'd be singing and then we'd want to turn around, and then he's like, no, just stay there, and they come to you, and then he was like, no, you go back to them. It got very confusing, and it just kind of ended up with me and somebody else singing at the front and everybody singing behind us. But that was one of the best numbers. Well, it wasn't one of the best numbers, but it's one of my favourite numbers. So the next one is from One More Angel in Heaven, which I was assigned as a solo song. So the way we had it was we all auditioned for the roles we wanted to do. And so I auditioned for Joseph and narrator, obviously knowing I'd only get one of them. And because they said that anybody could audition for Joseph and anybody could audition for narrator, even though Joseph is a male part and narrator is a female part. But they said they were going to share narrator between like a couple of people because it's such a big part. And yeah, so I was quite confident, and I'm so annoyed at myself for being that confident, but I was quite confident that I'd get one of those two roles because they knew I could do it, because I'd done shows with them before, and I played Amber last year, so they knew I could do it, and I was the oldest female, so if they wanted a female voice on the narrator part, then I was the oldest one there. And I don't know, but I felt really confident, and because I knew I could do it, and I knew they knew I could do it, and I was really confident in my voice and in just my ability, so I was really confident that I would get one of the two roles. And then they said that they weren't actually going to have a narrator, and they were just going to give the narration lines to just random people, which is why we ended up having like us singing some of the narration lines and Jacob singing it, and it was interesting how we did it. So I was just kind of annoyed at that, but it was good. But then they said who got Joseph, and obviously I didn't get Joseph. I was kind of really knocked back by it, but they did say that I had got a solo song, and the way they'd done it is they said, do you want to be a brother? For the people who auditioned for brothers, they got asked if they wanted to be a brother with a solo song, and those of us who auditioned for Joseph or narrator, those of us who auditioned for Joseph, and then there were some that auditioned for narrator but they didn't want solo song as a brother, so that's fine. But so those of us who auditioned for Joseph or narrator got solo songs, even if we didn't say that we wanted to be a brother with solo songs. So I got, that is how it worked, but my character Simeon didn't have a song written into the script. The other two boys, it was in the end, who had solos were Judah and Reuben, and they have songs written in the script. Those Canaan Days is written for Reuben, and Benjamin Calypso is written for Judah, but there isn't a song written for any of the other characters, brothers even. So they assigned One More Angel to me, which was fun, and I really love that song, but because it's a brother song, it's a male song. And I've said this before, I have got a high voice. Like, I haven't even got, like, obviously I've got a female voice, so I've got a higher voice than a male voice anyway, but I haven't got a low female voice, I have a high female voice, as in I'm mezzo / bordering soprano. So there was no way that I was going to manage to do that song at the, like, where it's meant to be sung. So there were two of us obviously playing Simeon, me and then the Saturday. So the person in Saturdays. So we had one of our first rehearsals as a group was in November last year. So they all went off and everybody else went into a different room and got positioned for a song, for a dance. And me and the other person playing Simeon, and both of our singing teachers, who I love and are amazing. They're just I'm gonna put that out there. Our singing teachers are amazing, love them. So our two singing teachers just sat in a room and we sang through the song, and they're like, obviously you're not going to be able to sing it how it's written because you haven't got the voice, you haven't got the range for it. So they said it's going to feel like you're jumping, because you are jumping about, because we ended up being like low and then high and low and then high, and it was like, what are the lines? It's like, Father, we've something to tell you, A story of our time, and then went up. A tragic but inspiring tale of manhood in its prime. That was really bad, but it jumped up and down, and it had like every 2 lines you'd switch. The first 2 lines you'd be down, and the second 2 lines you'd be up, and it was just a bit all over the place. But it was fine, and I got used to singing it like that, and I was happy singing it like that, and it was fine, and nobody said anything because that's all they'd ever heard, and it was all good. And then we got to a week before the show, and the other person playing Simeon, we had like a band call, so we did us with the band, and then the Saturdays with the band. So I sang with the band, and I sang how I'd been taught to sing, like how I'd been told to sing it, and I was all doing it happy, and I was fine, and all this was going well. Then the other person got up and did it, and she did it completely differently. Like, she did it at the same place the whole way through, and I was like, oh, dope. But every time I'd sing, like our MD would smile at me and be like, yeah, you're doing really well, and you're like, it's great, you're fine. And my singing teacher would be like, yeah, go for it. You're like smiling at me, nodding at me. So I knew I was doing it fine, but I just kind of doubted myself. But it was only when I finished. So our show was at 1:30, and the other show was at 5. I think our show was between, I can't remember when it started, like 1 o'clock, and then the other show was at 5. So we didn't get picked up till like 7 o'clock that evening, because normally you do a show, you get picked up, and then you come back the next day to do a show, or you just get picked up after the show. But because there were 2 shows and there was only like a 2-hour gap between the shows, we didn't get picked up. So at the end of the day I got picked up, and my dad was like, you jumped about a lot in your song, it sounded like you were jumping up and down. I was like, yes, I was, but I was told to leave me alone and let me do what I'm meant to be doing. And I just think it kind of just annoyed me that I was told by my dad, who doesn't sing and isn't musical in any way, that I'd done it. And I was like, yes, I was told to, but I mean, it is what it is. I keep wanting to go, but I think I'm going to stop there, because the rest of the thing, like the like next ones in my list are for the next song, so I think I'm going to stop on that. But I hope you enjoyed, and I don't know how many stories I've got. Like, how many have I got? I've done 12, or I've done more than that, but on my list I've sung 12, told you 12, and there's 41 overall, but I've got some more in my head that I need to add on to my list. So I've got about 20 more shows, no, 30 more, did you say shows? 30 more stories to tell, wow. So yes, this is going to be a long series, but I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you soon. Like, comment, subscribe, and I mean, comment down below some other video ideas, because quarantine, that's my excuse now, because quarantine. Bye guys.